Okay, let's do this one last time. My name is Miles Morales, and I'm the one and only... Never mind. I forgot this was Riley's collection. This figure is tiny, but also huge. Let me explain. As you can see, this guy's limbs are toothpick thin. When I reviewed the Marvel Legends Across the Spider-Verse Miles, I thought that was crazy thin. More thin than any other figure I owned. Surely that figure's gains were so microscopic that no other lanky adolescent action figure could ever rival the sheer cylindricality of his totally tubular arms. And, well, that's still true, I guess, because even though this guy's limbs are thinner than the Marvel Legends, they're still sculpted incredibly precisely. You can see the way the bicep curves in, or how the forearm tapers, as opposed to the Marvel Legends version that might as well have just stuck a couple straws into his torso. Given that this figure possesses such a minuscule surface area, it is genuinely impressive how much detail they were able to pack into this figure. The spider logos on the front and back are painted perfectly. The line work, while incredibly tiny, is applied very cleanly and still giving that very subtle graffiti/spray paint vibe this version of Miles is known for. All over the figure there's this tire track-like pattern sculpted into the matte black areas that mesh really well with the smooth and glossy navy blue sections. You can see both of these textures even on the forearm, where you get these tiny strips of sculpted detail, and it's really well done. On the red outer parts of the beautifully pearlescent eye lenses, if you look really closely, you can see they sculpted in and painted the blue line that centers the red all around the lenses. This truly microscopic detail looks as though it was made using a pin needle. The red sections all over the body also look really nice and well painted, although the red breaks up at the armpit. Even the soles of his tiny little footsies are perfectly color separated, and despite their size, still allow him to stand up just fine, thankfully. But here I am yammering on about how small this figure is, but didn't I also say he was huge? Bet you forgot, didn't you? Yes, this figure is huge, in the sense that he seems to scale a little bit larger than other SH Figuarts releases from other lines. Generally speaking, SHF's Dragon Ball figures, Spider-Man figures, and many others scale slightly smaller than domestic figures like that of Marvel Legends, but with Miles, he's actually slightly taller than the Marvel Legends version. So basically, what that means for you is that you can go ahead, grab this guy, and he'll fit right in with your Marvel Legends Spider-Verse figures, or any other Marvel Legends for that matter. It seems like SHF is slowly trying to scale up to fit in with the domestic lines, as updated versions of DBZ characters like the new Trunks or Gohan seem to be adopting some size increases as well. In any case, I think this is ultimately a great thing for us collectors, especially if you only want this one figure. The accessories for this guy definitely aren't anything standout, but you do get a decent assortment of things. For starters, you get your you get your where are his fists? That's right, folks, this guy doesn't come with fisted hands. Gotta say, that's very disappointing, and I'm really missing that set of hands here. Good thing I don't have any action figures that can throw scissors, am I right? He does come with other hands, however, including flippers, web gripping hands, which I suppose you could use as fists, but it's just not the same. Relaxed hands, wall crawling hands, and your splayed out style pose hands. You get a decent spread of hands, although again, I really would have liked some fists. They're all painted pretty nicely, however, I can see some black showing through on the red paint on the palms of his hands. Aside from the hands, you also do get some web accessories, including a long swinging web line, a long thwipping web line, and a short thwipping web line. If you've ever had a Mafex Spider-Man, you know exactly what these are all about. They're done in a matte white plastic with sculpted detailing to indicate the tangled web strands. The two thwipping lines go over the wrist joint and are held in by the hand, just like a Mafex Spider-Man, and this is something we've seen many times in the past. These web lines are fine, but to me don't really make a huge difference in the grand scheme of the overall package. I have probably like 100 of these things lying around at this point. Additionally, the figure does come with an extra set of eyes, being wide surprised eyes, and I love them. You can mix and match them with the standard eyes to get some different expressions going with the masthead. They look very accurate to the movie. My only complaint is that we don't get squinted eyes for him as well. To be honest, the Revoltech Spider-Man has me feeling a bit spoiled by its alternate eye accessories, and I would have loved to see this Miles get that kind of treatment. Along with alternate eyes, this figure comes with 2 unmasked heads that both look amazing. Usually SHF really struggles with their head sculpts, but here with this cartoony design, they've captured it very nicely and accurately. You get the more standard expression as well as a second expression that probably reminds you of the "hey" scene from the first movie. There's also a separate neck piece for use with these heads that shows some of his exposed neck to complete that unmasked look a little more seamlessly. Finally, you'll also receive a pretty cool flight stand with the purchase of this figure that works really well. You can attach the included clamp to it and display your figures that way, or you can plug it into his back. To attach the stand to his back, all you have to do is use the included tool to pop out the little port cover on his back, and boom, you're in business. You can also apply that same logic to the port covers on the base and reposition the stand arm to any of the 3 ports on it. The stand is also adorned with Miles' new logo and of course the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse branding. And yeah, this stand is really good for posing. It's lightweight, it gives you a lot of options. I've been using it quite a bit to pull off some pretty sweet poses, so overall the accessories here aren't bad and it's definitely going to be enough for most people, but I always like to see unique accessories that make figures stand out from the rest, and I just don't think that anything about this package really does that. No unique hands, web accessories we've all seen before, and not even a lot of them I might add. The extra eyes have been done before and also done better by SHF. So yeah, I think it's a decent amount of stuff, but if you're used to buying import Spider-Man figures, it might feel a little bit lacking. Even though this guy is ultra lanky, he can definitely still move around. At the base of the head, it initially seems like he can't really look up, but if you adjust the ball peg in the neck so that it's facing backwards, he'll be able to look up quite a bit. Although the head really likes to pop off when you're trying to do this, so it can be a bit frustrating to do. Using the full range of both the ball joint at the base of the head and at the base of the neck, he can look pretty much straight up and pretty far down as well. You also get some pretty stellar tilt. You can use the butterfly joints on this guy to gain a great range of motion forward with the shoulders, however they don't offer much range going back. The shoulder is on a ball hinge and does move up past 90 degrees, and he can bring his arms all the way down to his sides. You also do get a full rotation at the shoulder. Using all of the shoulder articulation, you can bring his arms straight across his chest. Full rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbows don't move in all the way, unfortunately, but far enough. Using the ball hinge at the wrist joint, he can move his hand up, down, and side to side a great amount and fully rotate it. The diaphragm joint moves a decent amount forward and backward, and it has a really good tilt. At the waist, you get a pretty minimal amount of forward movement, and if you move it too far, it will pop off, and going backwards is decent. Using both torso joints together, you can get an okay range forwards and a great range backwards. We do get drop down hips with this guy, and his legs can move up way past 90 degrees and almost straight back. You get basically a full split side to side. He does have a full rotation at his thigh. His double jointed knees do move in a decent amount, but don't go quite as far in as I want them to. He can move his foot pretty far up and also straight down, and you do get a toe hinge that works fine. Ultimately, the articulation is very good overall, and you definitely will be able to get him into an absolute ton of poses, but he also feels a bit limited compared to the Sentinel Spider-Verse figures or even SHF's other Spider-Man figures like the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and the integrated suit. On top of that, the actual movement of the joints can feel very unrefined, again, especially when you compare it to things like the Sentinel Peter B. Parker that feels buttery smooth in its movement, where this feels choppy and creaky. So while I did have and continue to have a great time posing this guy, I do feel slightly underwhelmed by its performance. So, what's the verdict on this SHF Miles Morales? This figure isn't the best Spider-Man action figure, it's not the most posable, it doesn't have the best accessories, and in fact, this figure has more problems than quite frankly I'm comfortable with on an $80+ action figure. But despite all that, This figure manages to be practically oozing with this charisma and allure that just makes me want to pick him up and keep posing. To keep imagining how he might swing like this or crawl like that, and then seeing it in front of me. That's because this figure isn't about being the best at any one thing, it's about how it makes you feel. Corny, I know, but from the moment you look at the box to when you pose him up and put him on his stand, this figure makes you feel like you're grabbing a hold of a little piece of the Spider-Verse and keeping it. It seems like SHF had a hard time figuring out the logistics of this figure and had to make sacrifices. The handling of the figure can be pretty dodgy in certain areas, and it seems like it may be easily breakable. When I got this figure, multiple people warned me about the breakages with the legs, although I haven't had issues so far. However, it's all worth it when you're looking at him posed up in front of you because you still get that SHF precision of articulation paired with an uncanny likeness due to top-notch paint, detail, and sculpt. By all quantifying standards, this figure is not extraordinary, but that doesn't stop it from making me feel like it is. I don't regret buying this figure, and I don't think you will either. But with all that said, guys, I really hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button. It really does help this channel out. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, because subscribing to this channel gives you lifetime virtual access to my collection. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Alright guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys